Well, we're back from our first camping trip. It was eventful. We learned some stuff.
Learned a lot of things.
Yeah. So, first, I guess, I think I'll probably put the footage at the beginning of this. So, we went to Hamburg State Park, a little over an hour away from us, so pretty close, easy to get to. So, if we forgot anything too big or if there was too many problems, we could have easily came back. So, we got over there. The first thing we learned was that we forgot our two-way radios. Normally, backing in, we'll use cell phones. Shanna just calls me on hers and guides me in. In this case, the park was middle of nowhere, no cell reception. We have two-way radios just for that reason, but
We didn't bring them.
didn't bring them. So that was the first little hiccup. The second thing was that when people come to try to help you with something, a lot of times they're not really helping you.
No.
So we're still learning our communication pattern for backing the trailer in and getting everything set up right. And of course you have the dogs and everything. So in this case, we got to the park and the camp host drove over in his side-by-side to help us and introduce himself, which is nice, seemed like a nice guy. The problem is Shannon and I have our way of doing it, and then so he starts yelling what directions I need to go while Shanna's trying to tell me from another perspective. And then in the meantime, the dogs are mad that this guy's got this loud side-by-side right by the Tahoe, so then they're barking, so I've got them behind me barking.
Yeah, Sky was sitting there just barking away.
So it became a mess, and then of course just tension because of it as we're trying to do this with dogs barking and jumping all over the Tahoe and Shanna trying to yell forward and another random guy that I've never met before yelling at me, no, turn the other way. So that was a little bit chaotic. Then, night one. Yeah, this was...
Yeah.
We learned, how'd I put it? Backup systems need to be ready, not just with you.
Yeah.
So we got the camp set up, had a nice evening, dinner, the whole deal. And around midnight, some pretty bad storms came through the area. And ended up knocking power out to the whole campground. So we'd had the air conditioner running, of course, everything's off. Not a huge deal. The refrigerator can run on propane. We have 12-volt batteries to run lights and all that kind of stuff. The problem was, out of habit, when I put the trailer in, I always turn the disconnect off to the 12-volt because we're going to be plugged into 110. So it's monsoon raining and lightning out, and we've got our disconnect off. So then that means I've got to go out in pitch black campground and pouring down rain to turn it back on, just to get any lighting. I did at least have the propane tank open, so that was lucky spot number one.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't opened that for dinner, if we decided to cook without using propane for dinner, then we would have had that off too, because I wouldn't have thought, oh, we need to turn the propane on in case. So none of that was ready, and we also brought flashlights, because if you need to go out at night or whatever, the campgrounds are dark, we'll have flashlights. The flashlights were in my tool bag in the underneath storage locked in there, once again pouring down rain.
Yeah.
So
We weren't prepared.
So, not prepared. So then it tapered off rain enough that I got everything kind of going. But even then, 12 volt, we can't run air conditioning, so then you're opening windows, which helps a little, but it was still probably 75 degrees and muggy.
No wind.
Yeah. Turns out July in Georgia's hot.
Yeah.
So no air conditioning, and now small windows, no air movement. So one of the things we've added to our list is 12 volt fans. They've got little USB wireless fans you can get and just clip up wherever.
We definitely need those.
So we're definitely going to need one for each window and figure out how to mount those by the windows, so if we have the same situation we can at least get air circulating. The one thing we didn't think about till the next day was we've got a huge fan over the bathroom. We could have opened that and turned that on to at least pull the hot air out of the camper. But we learned. We were out of power about 2 hours. Around 2 a.m. the power came back on. So got up, got everything going. So that got through that, and
Power outage with no heat with a teenager is
No
not
air.
a great, or no air with a teenager is not a great thing
no,
to
so
have.
so the first full day there, everyone was a little bit on the crankier side. I think my sleep thing showed that I had 4.5 hours sleep that night, so we were running on empty for the next day. Then our next thing, I've got my notes here. Sorry for looking down all the time here. Gray water is our bottleneck. We knew that already. And another prepared issue on our side, we bought a 35-gallon portable tote just for this reason. We found it out last year in Indiana that we can go about 3 to 4 days before the gray water's full. So if you go past that and you don't have full hookups at the campsite, you're hooking the Tahoe back up to the trailer, taking everything down, going down to a dump station. So we bought that portable tote so we could just empty our gray water, roll it down to the dump station, and do it. This case, we're only going for 2 days. We figured no big deal, we don't need to bring it. We forgot to account for having Xander with us, so now we had a third person for a couple days. So we sort of made it through the time, but the gray tank was showing full by the time we left the last morning.
Yeah.
So no matter what, we've just got to get in a habit of bringing that with us.
Yeah, taking it with us every time.
Yeah, that was our mistake. And then Shanna's revelation would be we need to get to a point that we're not bringing household items out to the camper to go.
Yes. We need to buy silverware and all the stuff and keep it in the camper, and it's just camper stuff only.
Yeah, she spent the day before figuring out what all we need to bring out here and where to put it. And then we get back and it's stick it all in the house, get it in the dishwasher, and of course then we don't have half the stuff we would use in the house for that day until she does. So it forces immediate cleaning when you get home. So
We got to do that.
so that was definitely one of the things we kind of knew but have to work towards. And then, yeah, the Tahoe did well, but truck would be nice. We're still going to have to eventually get to that. Having a truck bed, would open up so much more to bring. Because we'd even talked before, like, we'd like to get to where we could bring our portable generator. Just put it in the bed of the truck, have a lockable cover. So in this case, we could have hooked, our generator's big enough to run our AC. So we could have gotten that out during the power outage and hooked it up.
But we don't have a truck.
But
Not yet.
no truck yet, so so that is what it is. And then, as Shannon mentioned earlier, if you have a teenager that's not really into camping, it makes it a drag on the trip.
Yeah.
And we give him credit. He had a positive attitude going into it. Even though he's not been a fan of camping, he didn't really complain much. Went into it okay. But the stress getting there, backing in, with the dogs going crazy when the guy was trying to help us, and then his bed's more uncomfortable, and then the power went out, and he was hot, and then didn't sleep well, so he was done at that point.
Yeah, he checked out
Yeah.
first day.
Yeah, so, that's part of why, like, the last day we were there, we just got up that morning, and since it's not far from the house, we just brought Xander and the dogs home. And then Shannon and I went back so we could go for a hike, take our time, make sure we got everything taken down, and just bring the trailer back that afternoon. That made it way easier.
And that made him happier.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he came home and went, I think he slept till we got home anyway, so it didn't really matter. And then, yeah, and that kind of led us to, we could easily do long extended trips in this camper if it was just us.
Yeah.
With 3 and the dogs, 2-3 days max is probably what we'll do. But yeah, we could probably do a couple weeks of just Shannon and I in this and go run around and do what we need to do. Wouldn't be a big deal. And then, oh yeah, the funnier ones. So we went back that last day. We brought Xander home. We went for a hike. We walked back to the camper, and Shannon thought she smelled sewage. I'm like, no, that's not sewage. I couldn't place what this smell was, but she's like, well, maybe it's the trash. So, yeah, maybe we got our trash hanging. Maybe that's the problem. We go in the camper for a minute, start to round things up to take the camper down. I come back out and I'm like, man, that smells awful. So I'm standing there and then I hear a hissing noise. Walk to the front of the trailer and I realize it's propane. So I turn the propane tanks off and trying to figure out what the heck happened. And Shanna's like, well, when we walked up, there was a chipmunk or a squirrel up there playing around right by the propane tank. So I get to look in it, and it chewed a hole through our rubber propane hose. So I get home, I get online, and sure enough, that's a common thing. I guess it's pretty common for chipmunks and squirrels to just eat the rubber line.
Eat through the line.
So apparently I'm going to have to get some braided line or something wrapped around it. So, because once again, the propane's the backup for the fridge.
Yeah.
If that had happened day one and then the power went out, now we can't cook, we can't run the fridge.
We wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah, and I mean, even our water heater, it's electric with propane backup. So if power goes out and that propane's down, we're hosed. So
we learned our lesson that squirrels or a chipmunk, we don't know which one it was, will eat through things.
So that was good to know. And then Shen also found out the hard way that if you take the dogs out after it's dark or go out for any reason, you make sure to turn that outdoor porch light off and the light by the door before you go out.
Yeah.
She had that door open 15 seconds and it probably let 50 to 100 mosquitoes in here. I mean, they were coating the walls.
We were chasing them around trying to kill them all.
We ended up, we had to go through the next morning with a wet towel and clean because there were just little speckles of blood all over the wall where we squashed all the mosquitoes. So yeah, that's...
I still was finding some alive the next day. It's just like...
Yeah, so that was... We didn't want to go to sleep with 50, 60 mosquitoes flying around in here, so we spent some time getting all the ones we could, so another lesson learned. But other than that, I mean, we had a good trip. I mean, it sounds like we've got a lot of stuff here to complain about, but it's not in a negative way. I mean, we still had fun. We enjoyed it. It's just one of those things where being newbies to camping and RVing, there's things you don't think about, and you got to get your checklist going. You got to be prepared for the little down spots and work through some of that. So we'll get there on all that, but
it was a fun trip, and I want to go back to that park.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the park was beautiful. As you saw in some of the footage, but
might leave the kid when he gets over 18. He can stay at home and we'll go.
Yeah, he'll be 18 before his senior year starts. So we told him his senior year, he's 18. If we take trips and he doesn't want to go, he can stay home by himself. We'll let him make that decision then. So, but other than that, it was a good time. We enjoyed. We have another trip planned in October. We're trying to plan a few more, and we'll also be planning our Indiana trip. Looks like we're targeting next June. So we'll start locking in dates on that and let all you guys know up there when we're coming. But anything else?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, until next time, take care.
Bye.